100 years in the future, humanity, now living in a post-apocalyptic barren hellscape, is wrestling with a pretty large problem. Not the political faction known as the Alliance that nuked the world, not the new nation known as the Seven Flags that has popped up in the American Midwest amidst all the chaos, which is a very Midwest thing to do, and not the fact that 100 years ago, every person of American indigenous ancestry simply vanished. Gone. The problem that we're dealing with here is that in classic post-apocalyptic barren hellscape fashion, there's no food. Enter stage left Dr. David Anders, who, through some brilliant use of quantum physics, has come up with a way to pretty much instantaneously rehydrate vegetation. Instantaneously is a bit generous, but you get the point. But with this comes a new problem, and that is that Dr. David Anders is being ruthlessly pursued by an old military colleague, who also happens to be the junkyard dog off the chain who is the new commander for the Seven Flags. And in David's flight to reach the president of the actual United States, his path goes completely off the rails, leading him on a wild journey through time and space to save his friends, his family, and quite possibly the world. Above the Ground reminds me a lot of a mashup between Interstellar and Independence Day. Some of that is thematic similarities and some of that is just a vibe check, and I'm not going to read into that too much. One of the best things about Above the Ground is that it keeps us on our toes. It has great pacing, the characters are engaging, and the way that it blends hard science with science fiction grabs our attention and very gently leads us down this rabbit hole of a story. It would be pretty easy to spoil a lot of the best parts of this book, so suffice to say that it's pretty bonkers on every level, socially, scientifically, and it does a good job of not getting so far up its own butt with the science fiction stuff that it loses its human base for the problems. The science fiction stuff in here is crazy, but it doesn't run away with itself. I thought this book was fun, enjoyable, and a relatively quick read at about 250 pages. But in my estimation, we do get bogged down in two key areas. Firstly, the writing can be a bit stiff. Conversations are a bit stilted, dialogue can be lacking or even a bit cliche at times. It's not terrible, but it does take a second to get used to. And secondly, and this might just be a Jeff problem, but I think that in terms of science fiction, you can go one of two ways. You can go the route of hard science, where everything is provable and quantifiable and can be explained to the reader. Or you can go the route of science is magic, and we just accept that science is very cool and super advanced and beyond understanding, and we don't really look that gift horse in the mouth too much. And I think, unfortunately, this book at times tries to do both, which does not work to its advantage. Again, I don't want to spoil what they're doing in the book, but I don't think that you can kind of explain some of what's happening to me and then ask me to just throw up my suspension of disbelief for the rest. Sometimes those limitations are brought about through the characters and their inability to understand the science, but a lot of the people in this story have PhDs, so I think it's just that the subjects are complex, and sometimes I wonder if that's the author not being able to explain it, or if they're just leaving it a mystery so that it can be answered in the second book. I'm not positive. It's not something I'm super hung up on. It's not a big criticism. I think this book does work overall. It just was something that I was like, I wish you'd explain that to me. Overall, this book is very cool. I think fans of sci-fi at any level will be very interested in this, and I am very much looking forward to reading the second book. Also, a huge shout out to Gungnir Entertainment for sending this to me.